Let's go to 1 John chapter 4 and verses 1.
Beloved, believe not every spirit,
Mm-hmm.
but try the spirits,
Try the spirits.
whether they are of Elohim,
Mm-hmm.
because many false prophets are gone out into the world.
So we believe in the power of these people. In such a time as this, we need heroes. Not knowing full well, Mishpachah, that when Yeshua came on the scene, his job was to bring life to our people. It was not about trying to prove a text and trying to prove who has more power, how smart you are, and how large of a crowd you can pull, and all these different things. That is only something we see on TV. But the reality is that our King, our Elohim, our Mashiach wanted to save Israel. That's the reason why he bore the name Yahushua. Yahuwah, salvage, or Yahuwah saves. If we miss the point of the purpose of who we are as a people, we will take on such a pride within ourselves that we will think to be more holier, more righteous, more pious, more versed in the scriptures than the regular Hebrew, to the point that we will outsmart ourselves out of the kingdom. Because the Most High sent his Son to be humble. And his Son taught his disciples how they ought to be as servants, as Hebrews, going out to save and rescue other Hebrews. When the disciples went out to heal after receiving the power on high, they came back bragging about the abilities of casting out demons and such like. And Yeshua said to them something very startling. He says, you need to be concerned that your name is written in the book of life. That's what you need to be focused on. Sometimes we miss the point of why we are supposed to take on the mantle of Moses, the staff of Elijah, the staff of Moses, the mantle of Elijah. Why we are supposed to be as our forefathers and the prophets and the prophetess and the priests and warriors and whatnot. We fail to understand that these men were commissioned by our Elohim to save our people, not to beat them over the head, not to try to prove how smart you are, not to prove a whole lot of different things, Mishpachah, but to simply utilize the things, the skills that you have to get our people into the land of promise. That's the reason why we're given the gifts. Not to brag, Mishpachah, but for us to have those gifts to help our nation. I want to turn to the book of Acts, chapter 9. The book of Acts, chapter 9. To see the actions of the men that were before us. 9, we're going to read verses 1 and 2. And this is, we can say that the Apostle Paul, Shaul, was very similar to Ak the Slayer. As a matter of fact, Ak the Slayer doesn't realize it, but he is in the spirit of Shaul when Shaul was in the first phase of his life as a Pharisee of the Pharisees. You see, Shaul used to go out believing that he was devoted to fight anyone who opposed Jerusalem. This is what it says, the book of Acts, chapter 9, verses 1 and verses 2. Let's go ahead and read that.
And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest.
What did he do?
And desired of him letters to Damascus, to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way,
if he found any who follows the Messiah
whether
a certain way, the Messiah a certain way, so not to the format that he knew. Okay, so Og the Slayer would be in that same mindset. Go ahead.
Whether they were men or women,
It doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. Go ahead.
he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem.
He was a hunter. That's Og the Slayer. Let me pull him up on the screen again so y'all can see him. Because we all know about Captain Christian. But the one that you got to fear the most is Og the Slayer. He's an assassin. He's an assassin. See, because Captain Christian likes the limelight. He likes to be seen on certain occasions. When there's if it is some big event happening on TV, you'll see Captain Christian at that venue. If it is an opening for a movie, if it's some broadcast on television, doesn't matter. It can be meeting the president, like Superman. Meet the president, go at the United Nations, anything that is dealing with dignitaries and so forth. Captain Christian is always there to represent the world of Christianity. But Og the Slayer moves subtle. He's quiet, very stealthy. He's the one that you really got to watch. Okay? Now let's go to Acts chapter 5. And there was a warning that was given out by Og the Slayer's mentor, his teacher. Acts chapter 5, verses 26.
Then went the captain with the officers and brought them without violence, for they feared the people, lest they should have been stoned.
Read on.
And when they had brought them, they set them before the council. And the high priest asked them, saying, Did not we straitly command you that you should not teach in this name? And behold, you have filled Jerusalem with your doctrine, and intend to bring this man's blood upon us.
Verses 29.
Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, We ought to obey Yahuwah rather than men.
We ought to obey who?
Yahuwah.
Rather than men. Read.
The Elohim of our fathers raised up Yeshua, whom you slew and hanged on a tree. Him have Elohim exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior, for to give repentance to Israel.
Read on.
And forgiveness of sins. And we are his witnesses of these things, and so is also the Holy Spirit, whom Elohim have given to them that obey him.
So these are the victims. The victims who are standing up for righteousness and been brought to the council. Verses 33.
When they heard that, they were cut to the heart and took counsel to slay them.
So the council wanted to destroy the followers of Yeshua. But let's see what verses 34 has to say.
Then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law, had in reputation among all the people, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space.
So he would be like a Nick Fury. Okay? He would be one to just kind of like sit back and says, no, you're going about this thing all wrong. Let's read on.
And said unto them, Ye men of Israel,
you men of Israel,
take heed to yourselves.
Be careful
what you intend to do as touching these men. For before these days rose up Thaddeus, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who was slain, and all, as many as obeyed him, was scattered and brought to naught.
Read on.
After this man rose up Judas of Galilee in the days of the taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed.
So all of these people were self-claimed superheroes that went on the scene to fight on the behalf of the nation of Israel, to fight against others, okay, so that they can preserve Israel. That's the spirit You had the Romans, you had different peoples that tried to suppress or oppress Israel, and these men stood up to fight for the cause. But what happened to them? They all perished. Okay, let's read on, verses 38.
And now I say unto you, refrain from these men, and let them alone.
Leave these men alone. Read on.
For if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to nothing.
If these men are only enhanced superheroes, watch, leave them alone. If they're truly endowed with the strength of the Most High, they're going to be around for a long time. But if these men were boosted up with drugs and such like, they will come to nothing. Sometimes the spirit of Ak the Slayer is in our people to some degree, that they feel it necessary to go out and to slay everything that opposes their points of view. But Gamaliel was saying, you don't have to do that. If it's their own idea, they will fall by their own counsel. Isn't that what the Psalms say? Let them fall by their own counsel. But if the Most High is with them, let's read on. Verses 39.
But if it be of Yah, you cannot overthrow it.
If the Most High has given them the strength, the superhuman ability to be as Moses, Elijah, and such like, Mishpachah, there's no way you can defeat them. Read on.
Lest happily you be found even to fight against Yah.
Remember when Korah, Dathan, and all those men came to Moses saying, Moses, you take too much to yourself. You think you know it all. You think you're too powerful. You want to lead all these people. Who put you up there with the cape and the staff and all that stuff? Who made you to be more than us? We're all brethren. We're all in the same level. Don't you think that the Most High heard what they were saying and the plots that they were plotting? The Most High says, Moses, you step back. I'm going to pay these people a visit. And when the Most High came down himself, Mishpachah, the ground opened up and swallowed these people, and fire came out from the ground and burnt them too. Sometimes we think we are super Hebrews. That's a huge problem, because the only people that you are super to is in your own head, and you're not helping the cause. You're not fighting for justice. You're not fighting for the oppressed. You're not fighting for the sisters who were raised in an environment that they're wearing mini skirts and whatnot. Rough sisters, rough brothers. You're not fighting for their cause.
And to him they agreed. And when they had called the apostles and beaten them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Yeshua and let them go.
See, Ak the Slayer mindset will never want to let go. Even though the release, they will still throw. You ever seen, Batman or one of these guys, when someone is getting away, they throw a little something to follow them, a little tracking device, because the plan is, I'm not gonna get you right now, which is I'm gonna beat you right now. I'm gonna let you go, but I'm gonna deal with you later on. And that's how some of our brothers behave themselves when it comes to the word. They scheme, they plot with the intention to destroy. They fail to understand that some of our people are in an infancy stage, learning. That's all they know. There's just milk, maybe a piece of bread, and they're growing, they're trying. And you come along saying, no, you don't know the Greek well enough. You don't know the Hebrew well enough. I know what it was like. I can speak 4 or 5 different ways of Hebrew. Is that what we're looking for in Israel? Is that what the Most High is calling? To destroy the things that he's supposed to save? Verses 41.
And they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. And daily in the temple and in every house, they ceased not to teach and preach Yeshua HaMashiach.
These are the true heroes that fought for righteousness' sake, versus those who like to be seen, like to be heard, and such like. Now let's go to Sirach, and we're going to go to chapter 6. I'm going to read verses 7 to 11. Sirach, chapter 6. See, when I took the mantle as a teacher, I understood I was dealing with lives from the very beginning. And I understood the seriousness of the matter, in that I rather take 4 and 5 steps back to ensure that I don't harm one of my king's children. Be very careful what I do. And this is the mindset we ought to have. Yeshua says, I came not to destroy, but to save. I didn't come to destroy Israel. I came to save Israel. Let's read Sirach chapter 6. I'm going to read verses 7 to 11.
If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him.
If we have someone that's among us as a brother or a sister, we have to take the time to prove them, if they're worthy to even be called a brother. Because you see, Octa Slayer will come around, and it could be Octa Slayer the male or Octa Slayer the female. Okay? They will come around and they will say shalom, and they will act just like a brother or a sister. But truly, have they been proven? We don't know. But we're quick to call people brothers, and we don't even know the true agenda. See, in my walk, I will tell you this much. I have met many people, even with this the broadcast, who has reached out to me with the whole plot and plan to get in, to be part, to sit in, so that they can undermine, because they are sent by another camp. And there are certain camps who are skilled in putting out assassins. That's their job. They don't train people to save. They train people to stop others from even getting a morsel of bread. They say, if you don't come to this restaurant and eat, we're going to shut down everything else. We will call the public health department and shut you down. We will send one of our people to be hired in your company and work as an employee for a week or two just to spy out. And they will rise up into the ranks of becoming a supervisor real quick, because they'll do everything that they're supposed to do to get to that position. And once they're there, that's the time they will strike. See, they don't really strike. Octa Slayer don't strike at the bottom, the little guys. He's using the little guys to work his way up to the kingpin, because his intention is to take down the whole thing. That's how Octa the Slayer work. He spends a lot of time as a detective, watching, plotting, planning. You go to his room, you see all the pictures, all the news clippings, all the video clips, trying to listen to every word that is said, every posting that you have. Go back into your past life to see where you have been, and all the people that you are friends on Facebook. He puts up a very good chart to cross-check. Forensics. He will even travel to your feasts and sit there with you and break bread with you and make you believe that he's in agreement with everything that is happening. Passover, keeping the Shabbats, dress, attire. He will look just like one of the members of that congregation. But Octa Slayer is not there for that reason, Mishpachah. He's only passing through. He's there for a trophy. That's what he's there for, just a trophy. Something to put another stripe on his shoulder, another head on the wall. Read on.
And be not hasty to credit him.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 8. For some man is a friend for his own occasion,
and
will not abide in the day of thy trouble.
Because he's not interested in salvation. You see, the reason why Moses was considered meek was because no matter what Israel did, at the end of the day, he wanted all of Israel to make it into the kingdom, into the land of promise. That was Moses' spirit. That when the Most High came down and he says, I'm going to wipe out all these people and just use you, Moses, and your seed to build up a whole new nation, he says, no, don't do that. I am willing to be blotted out than all of Israel be blotted out. That is the spirit that we ought to have. But Ak, the assassin, is only about his own cause, not about the people. Let's read on.
Verse 9. And there is a friend who, being turned to enmity and strife, will discover thy reproach.
So once he comes in, he's there for enmity, division, strife, the art of throwing one Hebrew against the other. Why? Because he wants to set it up to take it down. Moves in stealthy, put one against the other, put one text against the other, confound the whole thing, and then backs out and he's gone. Read on.
Again, some friend is a companion at the table.
And stealth is he will come out in a suit, have dinner with you, no problem. But under his outfit, under his fringes, there's a little dagger. There's a little poison. There's a little something there to destroy you. Read on.
And will not continue in the day of thy affliction.
Mm-hmm.
But in thy prosperity he will be as thyself.
When everything is going good, he will help you along the way. What do you need, brother? You need me to read for you? You need a scripture? What do you need? I'm ready.
And will be bold over thy servants.
And when he gets in, now he wants to be a commander. Now he wants to start moving the operation along. He makes you feel like he's just part of the progression of Israel, when in fact he's there to destroy it. Read.
And if thou be brought low, he will be against thee. And will hide himself from thy face.
Cloak and dagger. Cloak and dagger. Hide and jab you. Hide and jab you. Ak, the slayer. What's up, Ak? What's up, Ak, Okoti? And jab you. Let's leave that. Let's go to you want to read the third? Okay, go ahead and read that.
Separate thyself from thine enemies, and take heed of thy friends.
Let's we got to pay close attention to the works. You see, all we have is just brotherly. Sometimes brotherly love can destroy us because we're too loving, too kind, too open, too friendly. And this is the reason why some of our brothers and sisters who has been in this thing for a while has been injured so many times by false-faced brethren, cloak and dagger brethren, that they don't trust anyone. It got to the point where they don't trust people anymore. Cloak and dagger Hebrews. Ak, the slayer. Let's go to Galatians and verses 13 to 17.
For you have heard of my conversation in time past in the Jews' religion, how that beyond measure I persecuted the church or the congregation of Yahuwah and wasted it.
When he was in that Ak the slayer mindset, this is the outcome of his doings. He persecuted, he hunted them down, and he wasted it. Read on.
And profited in the Jews' religion above many mine equals in mine own nation, being more exceedingly zealous of the traditions of my fathers.
So he was out to prove a point. He was out to prove how well he can slay. Trophies was on his mind. Okay, let's read to verses 17, verses 15.
But when it pleased Yahuwah, who separated me from my mother's womb, and called me by his grace, to reveal his Son in me, that I might preach him among the heathen, immediately I conferred not with flesh and blood.
Read on.
Neither went I up to Jerusalem to them which were apostles before me.
Now Shaul was so boastful in a way. When you read how he presented himself, if you notice carefully, the New Testament is made up with more of his books than anything else. You have the disciples now who was there with the Messiah himself. And Johnny come lately, which is Shaul, is now saying, when I was very zealous for the law. I put down people. And when the Most High revealed his truth to me, I didn't even waste my time with going to to Jerusalem to deal with the apostles. I went straight to Arabia. Read on.
Neither went I up to Jerusalem to them which were apostles before me. But I went into Arabia and returned again unto Damascus.
So he bypassed those that were there because he had that kind of a arrogancy about himself in his early days. He changed later on, but when he started off, Mishpachah, he was very arrogant, pushing himself. Okay? So that's all I want from that. Let's go to chapter 2, pick it up at verses 11. No, I'll actually read verses 18. Read verses 18.
Then after 3 years, I went up to see Peter, and I abode with him 15 days.
Went up to Jerusalem to see Peter. After 3 years, Mishpachah, you mean to tell me you are now following the Messiah and you don't want to go to the Messiah students to learn, to understand the miracles, to understand the setup of the way? Think about that for a moment. Now let's go to chapter 2. Chapter 2, and we're going to read. So that's Shaul when he started off. Chapter 2, verses 11.
Galatians 2?
Yeah, Galatians 2 and verses 11.
But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face, because he was to be blamed.
Imagine that this man was so pious, so zealous, that he had the audacity to go in Peter's face. Peter, the one that the Most High poured out his Spirit and was there at the beginning, the original superhero, the original, one of the original crew. But you see, Shaul was the Pharisee of the Pharisees, above even Gamaliel in his mindset, because Gamaliel told him, hey, don't mess around with the people, leave them alone. If the Most High is with them, you can't fight against them, because you'd be fighting against the Most High. Okay, so what does he do? He went up into Peter's face. Read.
For before that certain came from James, he did it with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision.
Now, as men who has been schooled in the ways of the Messiah, don't they have the right to work accordingly? Don't they have the right to work things out accordingly? James was a Nasi. He was the president in Jerusalem at that time. He was actually over Peter. And these were men that was there with the Messiah, not Shaul. But Shaul had the audacity, as being a Pharisee, in that same Slayer mindset, to come up and say, hey, Me. Beat the chest like a gorilla. Me. Read on.
And the other Jews dissembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away with their dissimulation. But when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel.
Now, wait a minute. That is kind of interesting. You mean to tell me that Peter, after all that he'd been through, seeing the Messiah suffering on the cross, that Peter is not going to walk uprightly? Let's read on.
When I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Peter before them all, if thou being a Jew livest after the manner of Gentiles, and now as do the Jews, why compellest thou the Gentiles to live as do the Jews?
Doesn't that sound familiar? Didn't we read that in the book of Romans? I think it's chapter 1. Who are you? Being a Jew, right? Boasting after the law. Let me see if we can get that. Let me pull it up real quick. That's Romans chapter 1, I believe it is, or 2. It sounds like the same type of speech. Let's see if we can find that. Romans 2. Romans 2 and verses 17. I'm just kind of showing you how he started off with a little bit of arrogancy, okay? Later on, because the Messiah said to him, I'm going to show you how much you have to do what? Suffer. That means there was a progression that he had to go through, a process, okay? Read verses 16.
In the day when Yahuwah shall judge the secrets of men, by Yeshua according to my gospel.
According to whose gospel?
My gospel.
According to his style. It had to be his way, his gospel. Read verse 17.
Behold, thou art called a Jew and rested in the law, and makest thy boast of Yah.
Read on.
And knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law, and art confident that thou thyself art a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, to teach a teacher of babes, which hath the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law.
All right, let's leave that. I just want to touch on that little part where he mentions, behold, you are called a Jew, and the rest is in the law. Let's go back to Galatians 2 and verses, where did you stop? 14? Okay, read it again.
But when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the gospel, I said unto Peter before them all, if thou being a Jew livest after the manner of Gentiles, and not as do the Jews, why compellest thou the Gentiles to live as do the Jews? We who are Jews by nature and not sinners of the Gentiles, knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Yeshua HaMashiach, even we have believed in Yeshua HaMashiach, that we might be justified by the faith of Messiah and not by the works of the law.
All right, let me see if I can, let's see if we should continue or move on. Let's see. Well, let's go to chapter 4, because we got other verses we want to read. Chapter 4. Okay, well, why don't you read on some more then?
Okay. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified.
Read on.
But
Is that what you want me to touch on? Okay, so basically what Maisha is trying for me to discuss is that some people will look at this and get confused and say we don't have to keep the law. The thing is that we do have to keep the law according to the Most High. The word law, Torah, means instruction. Very simple. So it's instructions for us to follow the Most High's ways and his laws and his statutes, how we should behave ourselves as Hebrews. But that's a whole nother class. Let's go to 1 Peter 5 So I just wanted to give you a little taste of how Shaul was behaving himself in the onstart. And let's compare that, Paul or Shaul versus Kepha. Let's look at 1 Peter 5. 1 Peter 5, and we'll pick it up at verses 5 to 8.
Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility.
Now you notice how Kepha is breaking things down. He's saying there is an order established in Israel. And you have to be humble when we're working with one another. Let's go back to verses 3. Verses 3. This is how Shaul is dealing with authority. Okay? Verses 3. Let's see what he says.
Neither as being lords over Yah's heritage, but being examples to the flock.
Verses 4.
And when the chief shepherd shall appear, you shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away.
So Kepha was demonstrating that you as a leader, you have the responsibility to take care of the flock in humility, in kindness. Why? Because it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the Most High. Okay? When Yeshua returns, the chief shepherd returns, he's going to ask to give an account of how you took care of the sheep. But he's also given instruction of you that is coming in, how you ought to behave yourself. Verses 5.
Likewise, you younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility.
You have to be clothed with humility. If you don't have the clothing of humility, you're going to be exposed as what? A wicked person. You'll be exposed. You don't have the cloak to hide anymore. Read on.
For Yah resisteth the proud.
That's the problem. When you look at the Ak Slayer, he came from backgrounds of wealth, prominence, education. He has a well-versed background. Speak different languages. You know, to speak different languages, you need someone to teach you. To learn all the arts of warfare, you need someone to teach you. You need to go through these things, and it takes money. You need to go foreign places. That was his background, that ability. But what was he using it for? He was using it to destroy people rather than saving people. And Kepha was taking a different approach. He says, you got to be humble, not proud. Okay, read on.
For Yah resisteth the proud and giveth grace to the humble.
Verses 6.
Humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of Yah, that he may exalt you in due time.
So there's a time when you don't be hasty to become an apostle or whatever it is that you have envisioned. I'm always careful with people who has, what do you call it, opportunists, ambitious people. Very careful. You got to watch them, because there are times when they don't understand, like the Bible says, without vision the people perish. They don't understand what's at stake. They're inexperienced. They don't know what this is all about. You have to go into this thing for the long haul, Mishpachah. You can't come into this thing thinking, well, you can just go in and get out. It's all for the money. It's all for this or that. The kingdom is something very serious. We don't play around with it. We don't use linguistics and churchianity and religion and all this stuff to have power over people. That's foolishness. That only makes you look good and make the kingdom look sad. Don't we have enough pollution out there that we should try our best to rise up in this great awakening and now pollute our own selves? Is that what we're supposed to do? Let's continue on.
Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you.
All our care. Verses 8 and last.
And be sober, and be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walking about, seeking whom he may devour.
Let's pause on that. And as we let that marinate, or we meditate on these last words here, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, he's stalking, seeking whom he may devour. That's Og, the slayer. Now let's go to the book of Mark, chapter 12. You know, when Yeshua was out there setting the example of how we should be to raise up our people from the low state that they were in to become the people that he wants us to be, there were other people who came around. All along, they had the power over the people. And while they were there, they were doing nothing. You had sick people. You had homeless people, widows, orphans, all of these people around in Jerusalem and Judea. Nobody's tending to them. Not concerned about them. Somebody shows up on the scene who at least has the heart to try to turn things around and to raise up other men and women to be like-minded. And who shows up at the scene? Who shows up? Let's go to Mark 12, and let's see. Mark 12 and verses 12. Go ahead and read.
And they sought to lay hold on him, but fed the people, for they knew that he had spoken the parable against them.
Sometimes people know that the message is directed to them because they are guilty as ever. They know that they're Og the Slayer and all these different types of spirits. They know who they are. And if they don't repent, what they're going to do is they're going to reinforce the plot even more, because they know that they've been exposed, and now what they're going to do is try to reinforce. They're going to harden themselves. Like Pharaoh did, they're going to do the same very thing, okay? Now let's read on.
And they left him and went their way. And they sent unto him certain of the Pharisees and of the Herodians.
Why?
To catch him in his words.
See what's happening here? Sometimes we have people who come with the only reasons that they're there is not to learn how to walk to enter the kingdom, but they're there to set traps, snares. Og the Slayer. They come around, they scan the room, they check out certain people, they look for weaknesses in the ranks, they look for people who they can impress themselves on, they can befriend them, and then they'll stop putting their little traps around. The reasons why they came around is to catch at words. Let's go to Luke chapter 11. Let's read verses 14. First of all, let's start from there.
And he was casting out a devil, and it was dumb.
So sometimes there are spirits of dumbness, or there's a dumbness on a person, and we're thinking that medicine can resolve that issue, not knowing that that's a spirit that's on that person, causing them to be dumb, lame, blind, deaf, whatever. Read.
And it came to pass, when the devil was gone out, the dumb spake, and the people wondered.
Read on.
And some of them said, He casteth out devils through Beelzebub, the chief of the devils.
It seems like nothing good could ever come about. No matter what you do, there's always Hebrews around to put you down for the little work that you're trying to do. They will, like Yeshua says, they'll catch at a what? A gnat.
And swallow a camel.
And swallow a camel. Oh, brother, the text shows the yud is supposed to be right here. When you pronounce it without the yud, it means something totally different. And sister, you know, you're not supposed to be doing it this way, and such like. A meal is prepared to save lives. And they're going to argue about where the spoons are placed on the table. And the forks is not in the right order. Or you're cutting the meat with the wrong hand or something. Some real minuscule nonsense. When it's all about trying to get the people fed. Trying to heal the people. You're at a hospital. People are bleeding out. You're going to stand around. Oh, you're wrapping the wound wrong or something. You're bandaging the person wrong. Why don't you grab something and help stop the bleeding rather than walking around like some critic or something when people are in need of help? You don't want to open up your own hospital to heal people. So what do? You go from hospital to a hospital to a hospital, restaurant to criticize food and health. But you would never do anything yourself. And you can't get two flies to follow you either. Everything that is presented on the table, you call it doo-doo. But you're the one that is circling around all the time. Always circling around. What does that make you? If the words that is coming out is doo-doo and you can't learn anything from it, why are you there? Only flies come around doo-doo. Only bums dig in dumpsters. You can't criticize something and then say, well, I am clean. Let's continue on.
Verse 16. And others tempting him sought of him a sign from heaven.
Brother, do you know Hebrew? Speak it. Brother, can you do such and such? Did Adam have a belly button? I mean, they ask you all kinds of crazy stuff. Read on, verses 17.
But he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. And a house divided against a house falleth.
How can you say that you are for the people, and yet you set snares all around you to entrap the very people that you're trying to help?
If Satan also be divided against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? Because you say that I cast out devils through Beelzebub.
Read on.
And if I by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your sons cast them out? Therefore shall they be your judges.
You criticize the word, calling it demonic, but people are being healed. You can't explain how, you don't know when, you don't know what, you don't know anything. But people are being healed. Shouldn't you rejoice and says, hallelujah, at least one of my Hebrew brothers and sisters have been fed. They were in dire straits, they've repented. Look at the tears on their eyes. You are not interested in that. Ak the Slayer is not interested in seeing a soul return. The prodigal son has returned back. No, he's not interested in that. Let's continue. Verses 20.
But if I, with the finger of Yahweh, cast out devils, no doubt the kingdom of Yah is come upon you.
All right, let's skip on down. Verses 52. Luke chapter 11 and 52. Read.
Woe unto you, lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge. You entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in you hindered.
You take the key out of the door. Instead of just leaving the key in there and allow people to come in, learn something. You pull it, you lock the door, you pull the key, and you walk away. You're blocking people from learning something. Because your intelligence becomes like a lock. Your pride has become like a lock. It blocks people from moving forward. Because remember, Ak the Slayer is versed in ancient linguistics with the ability to travel to time, through time in the spirit. Because it wasn't Peter that says, I went up to the seventh heaven. Who was it that went to the seventh heaven? It was Shaul. You wouldn't see Peter boasting himself in that fashion. But Shaul, on the other hand, he was a little aggressive. Let's finish this up. Read verses 53.
And he said these things unto them. The scribes and the Pharisees began to urge him vehemently And to provoke him to speak of many things.
See, they're provoking him. Sometimes when people throw a sprat, they're trying to catch a whale. When they throw a sardine, they're trying to catch a shark or something. They're trying to catch bigger fish, a tuna. They throw a few words out there, sit back with the objective to catch. Verses 54.
Laying wait for him and seeking to catch something out of his mouth that they might accuse him.
Read it again one more time, real slow.
Laying wait for him.
They're laying wait for him. That sounds to me like a trapper, right? Read on.
And seeking to catch something out of his mouth, that they might accuse him.
You ever heard of the term taking the food out of a bird's craw? And that's how some folks are. They can't see something good happening. They must move in. See, I am on the school of thought where I don't believe it's my business to go to any camp and prove anything. I don't have to go to any church and prove anything. I'm not going to set myself up with no teacher to prove anything. I don't need to prove anything. Yeshua didn't go and ask permission from the authorities in Jerusalem. He didn't go and say, well, let me go and sit down and talk with the rabbis or the teachers or whoever it was. He just went and healed people. Y'all wouldn't do it? I'm going to do something. Just for example, even in my yard, I had weeds growing up. I had, things needed to be trimmed. And I went out there and I cut my lawn, cleaned up around my house, made everything look good. What do you see happen the next day? 2, 3, 4, 5 neighbors grab their mower and they're out there cutting their grasses too, trying to make things look good. Why? Because someone has set the example, and that's what we're supposed to do. It's none of my business to go and prove anyone wrong. It's my business to walk right, to serve my Elohim. I have enough weight on my back for me to run around to another school and try to show them off. To prove what? It reminds me of those movies. I keep bringing this up all the time, where you have one Shaolin temple over here, or this Kung Fu school, and this other one around the corner. And there's always one happy-go-lucky disciple of the master. Now, the masters for each of the temples respect each other. Master Wu and Master Hua respect each other. But there's always a knucklehead disciple from Master Wu that says, hey, I learned two moves in Kung Fu. I'm going to go over there and start a war. And then he starts beating up the disciples of Master Hua, kill one of the disciples, and then start a war. For what? Come to find out, it's a knucklehead disciple who wouldn't wait, be patient, and learn the thing properly. And that's what happens to a lot of our people. They're looking for schools to go kick and to make trophies and to fight and whatever it is. To prove what? Yes.
Well, Yeshua actually had said this to, the Pharisees who came and try to catch something from him. He said to them, every time he gave them the word, because after all, he is the word, and by him all things are created. And he gave them the word, but yet they did not believe him. And he said to them, if you don't believe me, imagine the creator of Israel, the creator of the universe, is telling you, if you don't believe me, believe the works that you see.
At least the works.
Believe the works that you see.
Mm-hmm.
But then every time he would tell them that, they would still try to accuse him of things. And he would say, why is it that you can't understand my word? Is it because you're not of me? Because my sheep hear my voice and they will follow me. So you have a lot of those type of behaviors where it's all about the opinion of others, their opinion, but not what the word is actually saying or what the word is actually telling them. And so if you can't hear it, then you need to call on the Most High and ask for wisdom.
Okay, so they stuck around long enough that they can find some reason to catch him. They're not interested in the people. They're interested in catching people, tripping him up. Let's go to Psalms chapter 10, verses 9. Now we can read plenty of things in Psalms, but we only want to get this one verse here. Because the Psalms has a lot of meat regarding this subject. Psalms chapter 10, I'm going to read verses 9. Well, let's start at verses 7, okay? Talking about the wicked, the pride of the wicked, okay?
It says his mouth is full of cursing and deceit.
His mouth is full of cursing and deceit
and fraud.
And what?
Fraud.
Fraud. Read.
Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doeth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor.
So he's very stealthy. Okay. Verses 9.
He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den.
Mm-hmm.
He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doeth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net.
Imagine that. Read verses 10.
He croucheth and humbleth himself. So
he make himself just like all the other brothers and sisters in the room. Humbling like he's part of the congregation. And you're thinking, oh, this brother's, welcome brothers, welcome sister. You're thinking that they are there for the same reasons that you're there. But that's just part of the plan. Okay. Read on.
That the poor may fall by his strong ones. He have said in his heart, ye have forgotten. He hideth his face, he will never see it.
Now, someone will probably say, well, brother, you're reading this thing out of context because it's talking about wicked people, such like. But the way that the Hebrew language is, or the way that it is written, it is such like a fabric that it can connect to some other verses, precept upon precept, here little, there little, and such like. Among Israel, there are wicked Hebrews, wicked people with wicked intentions. Let's go to Sirach chapter 3. Sirach chapter 3. We're going to read verses 17 to verses 25.
My son, go on with thy business in meekness. So shalt thou be beloved of him that is approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah.
So even if you become a teacher, you've been in this thing for a while, experience will teach you that you have to come down to a low estate. Yeshua took the role of a servant so that he can be on the same level the people were on to reach them. Moses was in a low estate. Why did you think the Most High chased him out of Egypt to take care of sheep for all those years? How long did he take care of sheep for? 40 years of raising sheep. Because for 40 years, he had to spend 40 years in the desert with sheep to also teach them. And they're going to have all kinds of sheep, some with bigger horns than others, thinking that they can do as they please. And sometimes he have to be, that's why I always say a shepherd have to what?
Smell
like the sheep. You have to be among the people to serve the people. Continue on, verses 18.
Many are in high place and of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the meek.
Read.
For the power of Yah is great, and he is honored of the lowly.
Read.
Seek not out the things that are too hard for thee, neither search the things that are above thy strength.
So sometimes we have that super Hebrew who seems to know everything. They can go in the past and can tell you what happened. They can tell you what the Most High is saying. If the Most High has some slippers on, bedroom slippers on, or whatever it is. They can tell you what Gabriel had for breakfast. That's how good these Hebrews are. Super Hebrews. They're not like you and I, who try to piece things together and say, brother, I'm going to hold you up. And when I fall, you hold me up. And we keep doing this until we get to Zion. That's what being a Hebrew and love your brother as yourself. Because I am not going to have strength all the time. I'm going to be exhausted. Someone else will take up the mantle and carry me for a little while. And then when he's down, I'm going to take him up too. That's what we're supposed to do as a family. That's how we ought to behave ourselves. Verses 22.
But what is commended thee, think thereupon.
You have enough on your plate.
With reverence.
You have enough on your plate. Whatever food is on your plate, focus on that. Don't look across the room at somebody else's chicken. Read.
For it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret.
Read on.
Be not curious in unnecessary matters. For more things are shewed unto thee than men understand.
So sometimes we see stuff and we want to say, oh, I got this. And I have the breakdowns and I have this and that. Brothers, listen. There are times that we are not going to be able to explain it all. We might reach a dead end. That is no shame to you. It is just the nature of how the Most High works. He would give us according to his what? His will. Not according to your will, but according to his will.
But he also told the apostles when he was revealing to them the parables that they should not cast their pearls before swine. And sometimes there are certain things that the Most High would reveal to you that you're not supposed to go and say anything to anyone
else,
because you know that they won't understand it, or it'll probably cause them to feel less of a person.
That's it.
And you don't want to make people feel less of a person. You want to all be on this, on the same spiritual level as your brother. So some things you're just not gonna say. We
didn't have conversations about sexuality or sexual matters with our child or son until he was of a certain age. Things take time. You don't reveal certain things to a child. When you're learning stuff, don't expect you have a question for this, a question for that. You want to know it all. A teacher is supposed to have self-control, know when to speak, how to speak, and such like. You're not supposed to give the student everything, every single thing that they're asking, because no parent does that. So why should we? Let's read on verses 24.
For many are deceived by their own vain opinion, and an evil suspicion have overthrown their judgment.
Read.
Without eyes thou shalt want light. Profess not the knowledge therefore that thou hast not.
So sometimes we project ourselves to be scholars of this and that, and when the curtain is pulled, we're naked. Why? Because pride. Remember we read before about being naked, be humble, clothe us with humility. When pride is there, it exposes everything. Moses didn't know everything. The apostles didn't know everything. Why do you think they formed a council? They went to Jerusalem to find out what is the best way to deal with these returning Hebrews. When they had certain matters of dispute, they got together, opened the scrolls, looked at the thing, and settled the matter. But the back and forth, the ping pong match, well, let me see who's going to score the highest. That is foolishness. That will not get us into the kingdom. That will get us killed. And any teacher, anyone that wants to be a teacher should learn that there's more restraint. Solomon even says, if a fool will keep his mouth quiet,
yes, he will appear to be wise.
There you go. You wanted to say something?
Yes, I was going to say that you should, when we when we study things and we learn, we must learn from the master teacher himself, which is Yeshua. And he said, if they do certain things to me, most definitely they will do it unto you.
Absolutely.
Because of the fact that when he said to them about if you don't eat my flesh and you drink my blood, you have no life in you. And because they did not understand the parable that he was speaking to them, there were many who stopped following him.
They got offended.
They got so offended that they left. They never stood around and say, let me hang around and learn a little bit more of what he's saying. They just just got offended and just walk away. And so now he's asking, will you also go away? You know what I mean? So there's certain things that he says to them, and certain things, the way he wrote the words. If you don't understand it, don't throw it out. Just keep studying, keep praying for that wisdom. If you really, really, truly love him, then he will in his own time reveal that unto you.
Hallelujah. The Most High will raise you up according to his will.
His will, exactly.
He's going to say, well, I need a new wrench to work over here. And he'll raise you up to be that wrench to do whatever has to be done over there. Yeah. But be patient, okay? The focus is bringing our people back. That's the focus, not about myself or yourself or whatever it is, but bringing our people back, okay? Job chapter 42, verses 1 and verses 1 to 3. Job 42, 1 to 3.
Then Job answered Yahuwah and said, I know that thou canst do everything, and that no thought can be withholden from thee.
Verses 3.
Who is he that hideth counsel without knowledge? Therefore have I uttered that I understood not.
He says, I have spoken words that I didn't even understand. Read.
Things too wonderful for me,
above my pay grade. Read.
Which I knew not.
See that? Job was humble enough. He didn't understand what was happening with him with all the punishments or the trials he was going through. He didn't understand it. And he's just, it's at the end of everything. Then he can be able to look back and he can see. And now he has gained that experience that he can help someone else out.
Exactly.
And even the men that was around him was there long enough to see what he went through, that they can also teach others, hey, remember the patience of Job. This is how Job survived this thing, so you can do it too. But some of us, for some reason, we have like this extra ability to look both in the past and the future and start making all kinds of moves and stuff. That's when you become a super Hebrew. When you have more, much more than everybody else. That now you're looking down on them because you're hovering above the clouds. Everybody else is beneath you. Let's go to Sirach 5 and 11. Sirach 5 and 11. Some Hebrews are unteachable because after all, the wisdom of Solomon is upon them. Sirach 5 and 11.
Be swift to hear, and let thy life be sincere, and with patience give answer.
We have to understand that this walk is about life. And we have to be sincere, be honest about this walk. If you have a disagreement, you don't like certain things, just be honest and say, hey, I disagree with this, or whatever the case may be. And if nothing else can be resolved, just move on. But to hover around like a tick and to try to suck the blood out of the situation makes no sense whatsoever. Sometimes people need to catch a breath and walk away. We have to learn to be quick to listen and pay attention to what's been said, review things. Sometimes I say stuff and people don't get it at the same time. They get it later on. And I always tell everyone, this is not about giving you snacks, quick vendor machine type meals. It might be 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. It might be a series of time, okay? It takes time to learn different things. The Most High didn't just go, boom, Moses, you got that. Boom, you got this one. And boom, you got that. They had to learn, okay? They had to learn, Mishpachah. Let's go to chapter 6. We'll read verses 1 and 4, okay? 1 to 4. Chapter 6. Sirach 6, 1 to 4.
Instead of a friend, become not an enemy.
If you're not here to partner up and to help fellow Hebrews, then you're regarded as an enemy. Right? Read on.
For thereby thou shalt inherit an ill name, shame and reproach. Even so shall a sinner that have a double tongue.
You say one thing in the front of everybody, but you're planning something else. You're in two minds, two spirits. You're not there for the real cause. Let's read on, verses 2.
Extol not thyself in the counsel of thine own heart, that thy soul be not torn in pieces as a bull strain alone.
Imagine that, torn in pieces. You're wrestling with your own self, that you fight within yourself. Verses 3.
Thou shalt eat up thy leaves and lose thy fruit, and leave thyself as a dry tree.
So instead of waiting for the answer, waiting for the truth to come forth, you want to snap at everything. You snap at the leaves. The leaves are there to give life to the tree, which causes the tree to produce the fruit, which you can eat and have life. But you're impatient. You're like a bull. Just, I need this now. I need that now. You start knocking the tree. You start tearing at the leaves. And when the leaves die, guess what? The tree dies. When the tree dies, there's no fruit. So you die anyway. Be patient. All over the place like a bull. Be patient. Relax. You don't have to prove anything right now. You have the whole world. There's enough work for everyone. You don't have to come into a small pond to prove that you're a big fish. This is only a small pond. There's a big ocean out there. You want to swim big? Go into the big ocean. This is for the little fish. All praises to our King. Let's read verses 4.
A wicked soul shall destroy him that have it, and shall make him to be laughed to scorn of his enemies.
So when you have a wicked soul, it will catch up to you eventually, and people will laugh at you. You'll become a joke because your intentions were not true. Let's leave that and let's go to Sirach 4, verses 11 to 19. And yes, I'm not one who can speak all this, type of talk, whatever it is. I trip up on my words. I trip up on a lot of stuff. But I do understand the cause. All right? I'm a veteran at this thing, I've been in this fight a long time. And has all the wounds to prove my case. Sirach 4, verses 11 to 19. 11 to verses 19. Let's read.
Wisdom exalteth her children.
This is how we ought to be. Wisdom exalts her children.
And layeth hold on them that seek her.
Uh-huh.
He that loveth her loveth life, and they that seek to her early shall be filled with joy.
Read on.
He that holdeth her fast shall inherit glory. And wheresoever she entereth, Yah will bless. They that serve her shall minister to the Holy One. And them that love her, Yah doeth love. Continue.
Yeah, read down to verses 19.
Okay. Whoso giveth ear unto her shall judge the nations.
Notice it says, whoever listens to wisdom, the Most High loves them, and he will allow them to judge the nations. Let's continue on.
And he that attendeth unto her shall dwell securely. If a man commit himself unto her,
you spend time with wisdom,
he shall inherit her.
And you embrace wisdom with all your heart. Read.
And his generations shall hold her in possession.
You pass something on to the next generation. You have something to pass on, Mishpachah. Read.
For at the first she will walk with him by crooked ways.
So at the first time, she's going to be with those who are starting off. They're not strong. They're wobbly at the knees. They're in a crooked place, but she's trying to guide them into the right path. Read on.
And bring fear and dread upon him, and torment him with her discipline.
So she's going to scare him into the truth, teach him things, show him the fear of the Most High. And all of that is simply to save his life. Balaam's ass was doing what she had to do to save Balaam's life. That's all it was. She wasn't trying to harm him. And sometimes we have people who think when you correct them in righteousness, when you try to help them to refocus, stop being a critic of every single thing. Stop trying to track down and trace everything. just learn. Eventually you'll get it. Understand what this goal is about. We're all trying to get to the same place. We're all supposed to be from the same loins of the same man. Is that correct?
Yes.
So why are we fighting each other? Let's read.
Until she may trust his soul and try him by her laws. Then will she return the straight way unto him, and comfort him, and show him her secrets.
And show him her secrets. After she has disciplined him, now he's ready to receive the secrets. Okay?
But if he go wrong, she will forsake him and give him over to his own ruin.
That's sad. That's unfortunate, but it's true.
Yes.
You know, there's a way that we should walk, a way that we ought to behave ourselves. And I hope and pray that our people will learn something. You know, I try to make it comical at the beginning, but I really wanted us to really glean something from it. Okay, not just have fun, but also to understand the seriousness of what we're doing. Let's go to Psalms 140, and we'll read from verses 1. Go ahead and read.
Deliver me, O Yahuwah, from the evil man, and preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischief in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war.
Some Hebrews, their minds are set with only one mode. You know, like when you buy a blender, it's supposed to have like at least different switches to go from low speed to high. Some Hebrews only have one switch. War or no war. War or no war. On, off. And they just focus like that. Read on.
They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent.
That's all they know to do. Read.
Adder's poison is under their lips.
Cloak and dagger. Read.
Keep me, O Yahuwah, from the hands of the wicked.
They're classified as wicked because their interest is not the goal of life. Okay, read on.
Preserve me from the violent man.
A violent man violates, okay, the principles of life. Read.
Who have purpose to overthrow my goings. The proud have hid a snare for me and cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me, Selah. I said unto Yahuwah.
That's not gin like alcohol, okay? It's traps. It's an old archaic word, English word for trap, a snare. Read.
Thou art my Elohim. Hear the voice of my supplication, O Yahuwah. O Yah, the Elohim, my Elohim, the strength of my salvation. Thou hast covered my head in the day of battle. Grant not, O Yah, the desires of the wicked. Further not his wicked devices, lest they exalt themselves. Selah.
Exalt themselves. They're like arrows. You know, the arrows go up and they come down, they rain upon your head. So you need that protection over your head because the words of these slick Hebrews, these super Hebrews, will rain down like arrows upon your head and destroy you. They will hit you with all kinds of philosophies and deep stuff, so deep that you're going to be like that young man and get out, sunken in a place. Read on.
As for the head of those that compass me about, let the mischief of their own lips cover them. Let burning coals fall upon them. Let them be cast into the fire, into deep pits, that they rise not up again.
Read on.
Let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him. I know that Yah, will maintain the cause of the afflicted and the rights of the poor. Surely the righteous shall give thanks unto thy name, and the upright shall dwell in thy presence.
Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 2. 2 Timothy chapter 2. Shaul, being an expert in tracking people and trying to destroy them, he was able to put his experience on paper and stuff so that we will know how to deal or to counter these things when it befalls us. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1.
Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Yeshua HaMashiach. And the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also.
So I'm going to train you, and when you learn, you train others too, right? Read on.
Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yeshua HaMashiach.
That's right.
No man that worth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who have chosen him to be a soldier.
Read.
And if a man also strive for masteries, yet is he not crowned, except he strive lawfully.
There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do it. So let's do it the right way. Verse 6.
The husbandman that laboreth must be first partakers of the fruits. Consider what I say, and give the understanding in all things.
So you can't give out unless you first sample and you gain something from it, and then you can pass that on to somebody else. You got to taste the fruit before you sell it, right? Every merchant knows the simple precept.
Yeah, because you don't know if it's sweet or sour.
Exactly. You have to have the experience. Yeah. Okay. Let's read on.
Remember that Yeshua HaMashiach of the seed of David was raised from the dead according to my gospel, wherein I suffered trouble as an evildoer, even unto bonds, but the word of Yah is not bound.
Read.
Therefore I endure all things for the elect's sake.
For whose sake?
The elect's sake.
Read on.
That they may also obtain the salvation which is in Yeshua HaMashiach with eternal glory. It is a faithful saying, for if we be dead with him, we shall also live with him. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he also will deny us.
Read.
If we believe not, yet he abideth faithfully.
If we believe not, it doesn't change his course of action. He's going to do what he has to do, whether you believe or not. Read.
Because he cannot deny himself.
That's right. Read.
Of these things, put them in remembrance, charging them before Yah that they strive not above words to no profit.
He's saying, read it again. I want you to remember this carefully. Listen carefully, Mishpachah.
Yes.
Read it again.
Of these things, put them in remembrance.
I want you to remember. Read.
Charging them before Yah that they strive not about words to no profit.
So we find ourselves going to these mental gymnastics, back and forth, back and forth. When the Most High, like our parent says, I want you to take 2 cups of flour, put some water, put some yeast, do this, blah, 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 and follow through and bake some bread, because what's the goal of baking the bread? Somebody's hungry. But you got somebody's going to stand around and argue about the recipe. No, you got to stir it two ways forward and 2 ways backwards. Then you have to flip it up and flip it down. And by the time you do all that, there's no heat. There's nothing. You lose the opportunity to have a fresh loaf of bread so you can eat. Instead of spending all that time arguing over words, every single word, trying to catch them at the words. Read on.
But to the subverting of the hearers,
read on.
Study to show yourself approved unto Yahuwah.
Study to show yourself approved. Read.
A workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth.
And it's not just the breakdowns. Now, breakdowns is important. But what is the essence of a breakdown? It's the purpose of it is to get to the substance so you can get more out of it. So you can be more enhanced. That's why you have the what are some of these things that people take? You have the olive, and then you put it through the cold press, and you get the olive oil
out of it.
and then from that you may extract something else for a medicine.
You can get from the leaves, that can give you medicine.
Absolutely. Let's continue on.
But shun profane and vain babblings.
Talking. Read.
Vain babblings. For they will increase unto more ungodliness.
Read.
And their word will eat as doeth a canker, of whom is Hymenaeus and Philetus, Philetus, who concerning the truth have erred, saying that the resurrection is past already.
So you got these contextual critics. Read.
And overthrow the faith of some.
They're worse than the Sadducees and Pharisees. Sadducees will tell you, well, we don't believe in a resurrection. This group believes in it, but saying it already passed. So we're basically wasting our time. If the resurrection already passed, what's the sense of me going out and casting nets for fish?
Exactly.
To bring souls. Souls to go where?
Exactly.
To do what? To enter what? The king. If the resurrection already passed, the kingdom already come. This is Christianity. Let's continue on.
Nevertheless, the foundation of Yah standeth sure. Having this seal, Yah knoweth them that are his, and let every one that nameth the name of the Messiah depart from iniquity. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver,
unfortunately, read,
but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor.
Unfortunately, as a Hebrew nation, we have a bunch of knuckleheads too. And it's just part of the makeup of Israel. Read on.
If a man therefore purge himself from these.
But if the Most High will separate, he purges, he sends his angels to take out those that offend. But within the house of Israel, we also have to purge out those things that offend. Within ourselves, we have to look within ourselves as an individual and remove those things that offend. The purging is a process, a continual process, okay? If a man therefore purge himself from these, read,
he shall be a vessel unto honor.
So now you are not going to be labeled as a vessel that needs to be purged from the house of Israel, because you have purged the thing that corrupts and causes you to appear as a vessel of dishonor. You have removed that from yourself. Okay, read on.
Sanctified and meet for the master's use.
Now the master can use us.
And prepared unto every good work.
Verses 22.
Flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, and charity. Peace with them that call on Yah out of a pure heart.
There's a reason why the Most High used Moses when he was 80 years old. At that time, the testosterone, the pridefulness of a youthful mind is gone. What you have is an experienced elder who can lead sheep. Sometimes we have these young Hebrews who are besides themselves. They want to, challenge everything. They're always ready for a fight. But an experienced man will be like, let me sit back. Let's just, think this thing through. Flee also youthful lusts, but follow what? Righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the name, on Yahuwah's name, out of a what?
A pure heart.
Because it's all about life. Read on.
But foolish and unlearned questions avoid.
Read it again.
But foolish and unlearned questions avoid.
That means before you go through the efforts of forcing a question through, Why don't you take some time and learn? Take some time and learn. Go back again and read that thing one more time, twice, three to four, five, six times. Okay, go read that thing again. All right. And that way, when you ask a question, it'll be something that will bring knowledge to everyone else and uplift everyone so we all can get over those humps. But if you ask questions that slow down the process of growth, slow down things, you got to grease the wheels like 10 different times before the cart moves forward. We'll never cross over into the land of promise. Read on.
Knowing that they do gender strife.
Uh-huh.
And the servant of Yah must not strive.
The servant of our king must never strive. Always wrestling back and forth. Read.
But be gentle unto all men.
Read.
But be gentle unto all men. Apt to teach and patient.
Patience. Be gentle, because it's not your business. This is the Most High's business.
Don't go on the streets and tell people to kiss your boot. That's not being gentle.
That's the super, that's Captain Shalawam. Let me get him up here on the screen. Captain Shalawam. There he is. Go ahead and read.
Be gentle, but be gentle unto all men. Apt to teach, patient, in meekness, instructing those that oppose themselves. If Yah peradventure,
if it's the Most High's will
give them repentance to the acknowledging of the truth.
So if it's possible, our goal, my goal is, back off a little bit. The brother, the sister, they really don't understand what's going on. They're tripping over the thing over and over, and me explaining it 4 or 5 different ways is not going to make a difference. Step back. Let me demonstrate love, kindness, and continue keeping it that way with the hopes that they will see your sincerity, that you really want good for them. You really want to see them saved. You're not trying to harm or hurt anybody. You just want them to be in. And they will come to their senses if it's the Most High's will. And they will strike their chest and says, I was so wrong. I really couldn't see it. You mean to tell me that brother, like the donkey, saw the angels ready to kill? I couldn't see anything. And all the actions of the donkey seems in the eyes of Balaam with the whip as the donkey trying to hurt Balaam. But the donkey was trying to save his life. But because he was so above everything else, he's a prophet, you can't tell him anything. He has the money, you can't talk to him about anything. He's already well educated, he can speak all kinds of different things. This is a man that the kings trust to bring a message, as a messenger. So who is this donkey to tell me what to do? But the donkey wanted to save the man's life. And the angel says, if it wasn't for your donkey, you'd have been a dead person. You couldn't see. So sometimes we have to take that approach, hoping that, you know what, I'm experienced. They're going to slander me. They're going to throw some punches at me. They're going to try to ensnare me. They're going to try to poison me with all kinds of different methods and stuff. But after a while, you become immune to these serpents. After a while, the Most High allows you to have thicker skin that you can deal with certain things. Why? So you can save a fellow brother. All right. Let's continue on. Verses 26.
And that they may recover themselves out of the snare of the devil, who are taken captive by him at his will.
So sometimes they're not aware that they're in a gall of bitterness. They simply don't know it. And no matter what you say to them and others are saying to them, they're not going to get it. You can talk, they're not getting it. And you just got to step back and just say, you know what? I'm just going to let the Most High deal with them, and I'll see you on the road to Zion. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Let's read Lamentations chapter 3, verses 60.
Thou hast seen all their vengeance and all their imaginations against me. Thou hast heard their reproach, O Yah, and all their imaginations against me.
Jeremiah had to go through certain things, and it was rough on him. Read.
62. the lips of those that rose up against me, and their device against me all the day. 63. Behold, they are sitting down, and they're rising up. I am their music.
And that's what happens sometimes. Like they will make videos, they will they'll do all kinds of different things to kind of like put you down. That's what certain people do, but let's read on. Verses let's read a little bit more.
Render unto them a recompense, O Yah, according to the work of their hands. Give them sorrow of heart, thy curse unto them. Persecute and destroy them in anger from under the heavens of Yahuwah.
So Jeremiah was saying, I turn it over to you, and this is what you should do, because sometimes when you're doing good and you have the proof is in the pudding, like they say, and people are still pursuing to destroy you, the only thing that is left is to turn them over for destruction. 2 Peter, we got a couple more, we're done. 2 Peter 2 and verses 2. I'm sorry, 2 Peter chapter 2. We'll start at verses 1. 2 Peter chapter 2 and verses 1.
But there are false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying Yah that brought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction.
We have brothers who are teaching that Joseph and Mary, had sex and brought forth Yeshua, and the same way that the Spirit was upon Manoah and his wife, and they had Samson, same like with Yeshua and whatnot. When the text is very clear and says that how she was a child from who? The Holy Spirit, the Ruach, right? So how do you deal with stuff like that? Do you form a barrage around them and track them down, call them names and what? No. All you have to do is do what? Teach the truth and love in righteousness. That's all. The Most High, as Gamaliel wisely said, leave the people alone. If the Most High is with them, he has a reason for that. All that they're doing is a reason. Perhaps they'll repent and be even better than you. They might say, we were wrong, and fall upon their knees and cry out to the Most High. You're seeing them at a different stage, and you thinking more than the Most High. You want to force things to move forward. Don't do stuff like that. Don't force things. Okay, let's read on.
And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. And through covetousness shall they with vain words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. For if Yah spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment.
That's the book of Enoch, is that correct?
Correct.
Read on.
And spared not the whole world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly.
Read.
And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds.
Read on.
Yah knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanliness, and despise government, presumptuous are they.
Presumptuous are they. Go ahead.
Self-willed.
They
are not afraid to speak evil of dignities.
The Most High set up things a certain way. accept it for what it is, focus on yourself. But instead, you're out there making noise against the dignitaries, against the governments, against the order of things. Focus upon your righteousness. Verses 11.
Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bringing not railing accusation against them before Yah.
Not even the angels is bring a report to the Most High about these nations. But we all seem to be, more righteous than the angels themselves in our mindset. Verses 12.
But these are as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed.
Like an ox. Read.
Speak evil of the things that they understand not.
So they don't understand what is being taught. They don't understand the way things are set up. They don't understand nothing. What they can say is evil. Go ahead and read.
And shall utterly perish in their own corruption.
Let them fall by their own counsel. Read.
And shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as they that count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Spots they are, and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings, while they feast with you.
They do what?
While they feast with you.
It says spots they are and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings, while they do what?
They feast with you.
Feast with you. Okay, read.
Having eyes full of adultery.
So they're looking around the room to start to corrupt, to adulterate, or to pollute, or to mix, or to add.
And that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls. And heart they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children, which have forsaken the right way, and are gone astray, following the ways of Balaam, the son of Bosor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness, but was rebuked for his iniquity. The dumb ass speaking with man's voice forbade the madness of the prophet. These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the midst of darkness is reserved forever.
Read on.
For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness.
So they appear like a well that you can go to for a drink of water. They appear like a promising cloud in the sky when you need some rain. But when the cloud gets closer, there's nothing, not even one drop that can give you enough moisture to moisten your lips. Nothing but mud in the well. Nothing you can glean from. That's why it says they allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness. Read.
Those that were clean escape from them who live in error.
Read on.
While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption.
So they promise salvation, a drink of water, something to offer, but they have nothing really to give. Nothing of life. Read.
For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought in bondage.
Imagine you run from a plantation of religion only to end up in another one. Verses 20.
For if they have escaped the pollution of the world through the knowledge of Adonai and Savior Yeshua HaMashiach, they are again entangled therein and overcome. The latter end is worse with them than the beginning.
And just thinking about, you have awakened from your sleep. You know that you're Hebrew. You know what the requirements of a Hebrew is, that you got to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. And then all of a sudden you go back. You don't believe in the Messiah. You believe that Joseph is this. You don't. Now all of a sudden, I don't like the Old Testament. I don't like the New Testament. I don't like this. I don't like that. Paul is a false prophet. You have all this nonsense going on. It starts to mess with you. You got delivered from foolishness only to find yourself become an expert in folly. Let's continue.
Verse 21. For it had been better for them.
Read verses 20 again.
Verse 20. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of Adonai and Savior Yeshua HaMashiach, they are again entangled therein, and overcome.
The sins have overcome them.
The latter end is worse with them than the beginning.
Read.
Verse 21. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness.
It's better you stay where you were before.
Than after they have known it.
To know that you're a Hebrew.
To turn from the holy commandments delivered unto them.
Now all of a sudden you're going to turn away from the truth. Read on.
But it is happened unto them according to the true proverb. The dog is returned to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire.
I'm going to stop here, and my goal was simply to, reach our people in a different light, that we can understand what we're doing. We have some good brothers and sisters who they want to do what is right, but they're going about it the wrong way. And then because of pride still there in their life, still moving around, it has overcome them. And now they don't see their way of making a change to correct themselves. And by doing so, that mindset spreads like a virus, and all of a sudden we have problems after problems. It's like many of you all have been in the Christian church. You have seen the results of that. You've seen the depression. You've seen things have not changed, the homosexuality, the incest, all kinds of craziness that is happening. Because the pastors have been preaching it's all about grace and love and whatnot. So crimes are committed. And now that you come to know who you are as a people, why bring that garbage over in this side? Or the same techniques, the same ideology, the same mindset. We don't need that. We don't need that. We need to stay focused and stay on the road to Zion.